conservative new media viewers and JLin fans around the world, what is up? It's me, PFV, Paul F. Villarreal, the NBA expert. We're here to talk about Houston's 109-103 loss tonight in game number 19 against the Utah Jazz in Salt Lake City, Utah. With a defeat, Houston's 5-game winning streak is over. This was also the third straight game in which JLin missed because of the knee injury he suffered against the Atlanta Hawks several games ago. Houston drops to 2-1 this season without Jeremy. Chandler Parsons also missed a game. Chandler, a.k.a. LeBron Bieber Parsons. Look, this was a ridiculous loss. This was an embarrassing loss. It really was. And if you look at the title of this video, Utah had the worst record in the league coming into this game. They were 3-15, I believe. They're number 30 out of 30. This was not a game that the team should have lost. And I'll talk more about it in a second here after I quickly go over the stats. Now, I know somebody said to me, Paul, you don't need to do the stats. You should just do analysis. And I understand that. I do. Sometimes I feel like I'm wasting time in the videos doing the stats. The reason why I do the stats, and I made a comment about this, is because the people watching these videos are primarily JLin fans. And so they want to know how people playing Jeremy's position did, because then they can kind of judge how Jeremy compares with that. So I will often give the stats for Patrick and for Aaron Brooks, and then the opposing team's point guards. I don't try to spend very much time on the other players from either team, although I will mention like who did the best for our team, for the Houston team. But I understand what's being said. Maybe I'll cut down the stats a little bit, just give like basic points, rebounds, assists, and efficiency, just to make it a little bit shorter. But as I said, look, there's a whole bunch of people that want a whole bunch of different things from these videos. And so I'm always trying to figure out, well, how do I combine that to make a video that works for everybody? There's some people that don't want to hear quarter-by-quarter stuff, and there's some people that love quarter-by-quarter stuff. So it's a balance. But I do understand how the stats thing can kind of take up time that some people feel they don't need to take because they can just go look at the stat sheet. So I understand that. Okay, let's go over the stats quickly for the guards. Patrick, 8 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. His efficiency for the game was 14, and he played 38 minutes. Patrick played a pretty solid game tonight. This is the second game in a row where his numbers weren't huge. They don't look that big, but the efficiency was pretty good. It wasn't great, but it was solid. That definitely was the case in the last game, where he had 11 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists or something. His efficiency was 20 in that game, which you would not expect it to be. But he had 0 turnovers. So it's like that's kind of how you rack up stats. So Patrick, offensively, he played better than what it might have looked like he played. I'll just say that. Aaron Brooks, 13 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists. His efficiency was 9 in 24 minutes. Again, a solid game. Aaron was very good in the fourth quarter, mostly. He had 9 points in the fourth quarter and really got going, although he had a couple plays down the stretch that didn't help the team, and I'll talk about that in a second. James Harden, 37 points, 3 rebounds, 8 assists. His efficiency was 35. It sounds great, but it wasn't great, and I'll talk about that in a second. Francisco Garcia, who started in place of LeBron Bieber Parsons, 13 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists. The reason why I mentioned Francisco's numbers is because Francisco often will play shooting guard. And so I kind of want to talk about his numbers at shooting guard compared to the Utah Jazz's numbers for their guards. Francisco's efficiency was 20, which is fantastic. He had 5 blocks or something, so he had a very good game. Trey Burke, who is a terrific rookie for the Jazz, who's only now starting to play games because he's been hurt. I think he had I can't remember if it's a hurt hand or hurt foot, I believe, for a couple of weeks. 21 points, 3 rebounds, 6 assists. No turnovers. Efficiency was 22. So Trey played better than Patrick did in this game. And that's there's no shame in that. Trey is a terrific player. A lot of people thought Trey Burke might be the Rookie of the Year, and he still might. It's just that he didn't get to start the season because of injury. Gordon Hayward, starting shooting guard, 29 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. Efficiency was 28. Well, we'll talk more about that in a second. I won't say it right now. Deontay Garrett, I believe, is the backup point guard's name for the Jazz. 5 points, 1 assist. His efficiency was 3, so he didn't have much of an effect. Alec Burks, I believe is his name, the backup shooting guard for the Jazz. 21 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists. His efficiency was 24. Okay, so for all of the shooting guards and point guards for the Rockets, 71 points, 16 rebounds, 14 assists, and the combined efficiency was 78. For all the point guards and shooting guards for the Jazz, 76 points, 11 rebounds, 14 assists. Their combined efficiency was 77. So those numbers, Houston's total efficiency from their guards were 78. Utah's total efficiency for their guards was 77, almost a dead heat, except Utah's guards played 28 fewer minutes. And that's because Houston went to small ball several times in this game. So what I'm trying to tell you is that the Utah's unit of guards outplayed Houston's unit of guards, and that's a big reason why Houston lost this game. And Utah also shot 54% in the game, which is way too high, and Houston shot 48%. Houston didn't play defense in this game. That's what I'm trying to tell you. And their guards were outplayed, which means Jeremy was missed in this game. Again, the same way I thought he was missed in the San Antonio game, even though Houston won. All of this, and we have to talk about it. All of this started with James Harden. No defense. I don't care how many points he put up. This is the argument people make against Jeremy. Oh, it's not all about offense. Well, it's not all about offense for James Harden because Gordon Hayward ate him alive in this game, torched him. And what it looked like to me that James tried to do later in the game was he tried to get his stats better than Hayward's. So he looked better. Well, that didn't work because by that time it was too late. And this is exactly the problem with this team. I give Dwight Howard a tremendous amount of credit because he doesn't care about stats anymore. Coming into this season, it was like, oh, Dwight's a stats guy, and he doesn't care anymore. He wants to win. But James Harden cares, in my opinion, and that's hurting the team. And he doesn't care about defense. So as you said on Twitter, and I finally remembered your name, sorry about that, Dwight's matured, but James Harden hasn't matured. And that's going to limit this team. So until that gets better, this team's going to be limited, in my opinion. All right, let's go over what you need to know about this game. And I'll talk more about Harden in a second. This was a pathetic loss. Houston took the Jazz lightly. They thought this was a guaranteed win. They rolled in like it was, and they got beat. And that's what happened. Defensive breakdowns all over the place, and everything started with James Harden. He simply wasn't playing defense. He just didn't try to play defense for a lot of this game, and it ended up getting Houston in the end. What the team tried to do, and what Harden tried to do, was they thought they could just catch up whenever they wanted. And the last time these two teams played, Houston did that. Houston was down by like 17 points against Utah before, and then they came back. and won. Well, that's what they thought was going to happen in this game, and it didn't happen. And that's why you can't play around in games like this. Look, I don't want to go crazy about this game because games like this happen during an 82-game season. You will get games like this. But it didn't have to happen. It didn't have to happen like this. Especially, you're coming off the San Antonio win, which was the best win of the year, without a question. You want to back it up with another win, but you didn't do that. And you didn't do it because you took the other team lightly. And so it just didn't need to happen this way. You know? Look, I do think this game showed that the team needs Jeremy, in my opinion. And we've seen that before. However, because James Harden doesn't play defense, in my opinion, I do think there's a chance that Jeremy's going to end up leaving the team. Because Mikal wants defense, Harden doesn't play defense, and so you're going to hear the thing about you can't have Jeremy and James Harden because neither of them play defense. So Jeremy gets lumped in with Harden. That's why Patrick's probably starting, because James doesn't play defense. So this could make Jeremy become the odd man out in time. I don't think it's going to happen right now, but I think over time, I do think Jeremy might be the one that goes. Because James is the quote-unquote star, so he gets the final say, or he's the guy that's going to get precedence, it's like Melo. It's like Carmelo in New York. Jeremy's not going to get precedence over Melo, regardless of whether he should or not. And honestly, he probably should. And that's probably true with Harden, too. When you look at the totality of their stats, Harden's a better player, and Melo's a better player than Jeremy is. However, it doesn't have to be like this. The reason why it's going like this is because James Harden doesn't want to play defense. And that's it. If he doesn't want to play, then you're going to get games like this. And that's going to make Jeremy be the odd man out because James Harden just doesn't want to play defense, in my opinion. So that's where it leaves you. That's where it heads to. Patrick, this is the fourth time in the last 5 games that Patrick did not score in double figures on offense. Now, again, he's not in there to play offense, but you still need some offense. Again, Patrick's efficiency was pretty good in this game. His PER number will go up after this game, the same way it went up after last game, even though he didn't score a bunch of points in either game. So Patrick did his job. He did. But he's not going to score a bunch of points. So I know there are people, and I know people have told me about fantasy guys talking about Patrick Beverley. Well, guess what? All the fantasy guys are going to be saying goodbye to Patrick really soon. And the reason why I say that is fantasy league stats are almost exclusively based on offensive stats. Well, if that's the case, Patrick's not your guy. I mean, just based upon that's not his role, and that's not what he does. Aaron, as I said, was very good in the fourth quarter. However, Alec Burks torched him on defense late in the fourth, and Aaron was blocked at the rim late in this game, and that pretty much sealed the game up. So, unfortunately, Aaron played well late, but the last couple sequences didn't work out that well. Houston was down by 13 points after the first quarter of this game, and that's where the game was lost, in my opinion. They didn't take it seriously, and Utah went off, basically, against them. The problem for James Harden, and I have a note here that says, yes, Fran Blindberry, it is James Harden versus Jeremy Lin. Because if you follow us on Twitter, I mentioned recently a column written by Fran Blindberry of NBA.com, formerly of the Houston Chronicle, just about Jeremy. And he said some good things, but it was mixed in with his usual dissing of Jeremy Lin fans and Lin's sanity is a fluke and this type of nonsense. And one of the things he said in there was essentially, hey, people on the internet are trying to make it Harden versus Lin. Well, it is that because of what I said earlier. Because Jeremy is perceived as not a good defender, and because James just doesn't want to play defense, apparently, it does become James Harden versus Jeremy Lin about who might be staying with the team. And it's unfortunate, but that's what it is. When Jeremy came to the Rockets, he didn't know James Harden was coming. So, yeah, and neither did the Rockets, to be fair to them. They didn't know either. So, but it's in time, as I said, Jeremy might do better on a different team, playing with a shooting guard that's a better defender, the same way that Harden might prefer playing with Patrick because Patrick's a good defender, and playing on a team that's not about stats guy basketball. James Harden right now looks like he's playing stats guy basketball, which is I'm getting my stats, and if we win, we win. If we don't win, I got my stats. And you can't blame it on me because I got my stats. So somebody looking in the box score after the game, well, Harden did his part. No, he didn't. No, he didn't, in my opinion. And so Fran Blindberry, it does become James Harden versus Jeremy Lin because of the setup of the team, because they're the two primary playmakers on the team, and because both of them get criticized for defense. The difference is Jeremy tries on defense. He actually puts effort into it. James Harden doesn't do that very often, in my opinion. And this is what Dwight meant, in my opinion, when Dwight said, get guys out of the game and let them rest more. Don't play 44 minutes, James Harden, and score a bunch of stats and your guys going crazy. Somebody asked me on Twitter in the comments, how many times has a shooting guard gone off against Houston this year? A whole bunch. Just like tonight with Gordon Hayward. Gordon Hayward is an excellent player, but he's not a 30 points per game player like he looked like he was tonight. And we've seen it before. We've seen it. And Fran Blindberry and Bill Ingram, you guys want to put down Jeremy? You don't want us to tell the truth about James? Well, sorry, dudes. The truth is out there for anybody that watched this game. It's right there. And it's not difficult. You don't need to be an NBA expert to understand it. You just have to see it, what's happening for yourself. And that's it. Again in this game, just like in the Dallas game the last time, Kevin McHale apparently switched Patrick Beverley onto Gordon Hayward. Why? Because James Harden couldn't or wouldn't guard Hayward. It didn't last very long, that switch, but it took place for like 2 or 3 sequences. And Gordon Hayward scored over Patrick. Why? Because Gordon Hayward's about 6'6", and Patrick's 6'1". No matter how good of a defender Patrick is, you can't guard somebody who's 5-6 inches taller than you. And it only was done because Harden couldn't guard him or wouldn't guard him. That's why this loss was so bad. That's why I'm annoyed. This didn't have to happen, this loss. It didn't have to happen. But because Harden was playing blasé basketball, it happened. And it's just not good enough. So I said, look, you guys say, a lot of people, you want Jeremy traded. I want him traded if this is going to be the way it is. Because Harden's not going to get blamed for this, and he should be. Right? But Jeremy's going to get blamed for everything. So Patrick doesn't have to score double figures per game, and Harden doesn't have to play defense. But Jeremy has to be perfect, or else he's going to get blamed. That's, he doesn't need that. He just doesn't need that. Look, I still want him on the team because the team is good and has the ability to be great. But this stuff is just, it's so deflating. It's ridiculous. How do you go and beat one of the best teams in the league, in the Spurs, and then go the next night and lose to the worst team in the league? Come on, dude. Seriously? So, that's it. All right, let's go over this quickly quarter by quarter and to see if anything in particular stood out to me. just go through my notes. Look, Utah is improving. They are the worst team in the league by record, but a lot of that did come with Trey Burke out of the lineup. Trey Burke is a terrific player. Okay. Also, I made a note that Jeremy does need to keep his turnovers low when he comes back, because I will say the team is doing better on turnovers right now. And what that means is that Jeremy needs to keep his turnovers down if he wants to keep getting good playing time, because the team's doing better. And Mikhail, that's what he wants. So if you want playing time, Jeremy's also going to need to keep his turnovers down, and he can do that. We know for that 4 or 5 game stretch, he was doing incredibly well. And a lot of what that comes down to in terms of making plays is when you get into the lane, don't pass it, shoot it, because then you might not get as many assists, but you'll also get fewer turnovers. Yeah, I made the notes there about Jeremy might have to go because Harden won't play defense. Oh, I also, last 2 games, I'm not watching the Houston announcers. I'm not listening to the game with them. I'm tired of it. I don't want to hear Clyde. So tonight I just listened to the Utah announcers. And what's great when you listen to the away team announcers is they tell the truth about James Harden. So that's really refreshing. They were all over Harden for his defense tonight. Another thing, and again, I have to say this is true, this is the second time that the opposing team's starting point guard has done well. Tony Parker had whatever he had, 25 or whatever points, and Trey Burke had 21 points. So again, Patrick as magical unicorn perimeter defender, shutdown defender, well, we're not seeing that. And I don't expect to see it. Patrick's a terrific one-on-one defender, but he's not Scottie Pippen in his prime. He's not at that level. He's not big enough to be that. That's not what he is. And so Patrick played well tonight. I don't want to diss Patrick. I don't want every video to be dissing Patrick. I like Patrick. I respect Patrick. And I respect what Patrick has gone through to get back to the NBA. And I want him to do well. But the truth is what it is. The same way that I can sit here and talk about Jeremy's limitations, we have to talk about Patrick's limitations. Patrick is not a shutdown defender. He isn't going to do that. Trey Burke is a rookie, and he had no trouble against Patrick. He really didn't. The same way the guy for Philly, remember that guy put up a triple-double against Patrick, Tony Roten. That guy's like a rookie himself or second year. You see what I'm saying here? And you saw how Tony Parker did. Patrick will harass you. He slows you down. He is good at that. But he's not a shutdown defender. And you can't expect him to be that. That's not what he is. So the expectations put on him coming into this year were unrealistic, in my opinion. And let's be honest about this. The reason why those expectations were put there was because of the anybody but Jeremy crowd. Because they wanted Patrick to be that level so that Jeremy didn't play. And I don't care what anybody says. That's the truth. And you know it's true in your heart of hearts. I know it's true too because I've seen it on message boards all over the internet. This is the proxy thing. Whoever looks like they can take Jeremy out of the starting lineup and take Jeremy's playing time, that person becomes the greatest person who ever lived. So Patrick's the greatest player ever, and then Aaron Brooks is the greatest player ever, and now Rajon Rondo's the greatest player ever because he might get traded. That's haterism. That's how it works. And you know it when you see it. So when you see people trying to push Patrick as the greatest player ever, there's usually that reason behind it. And it's not fair to Patrick. It's not fair to Jeremy, but it's not fair to Patrick. You're putting unrealistic expectations on him. So this whole thing, Patrick Beverley destroys Drew Holiday during the preseason. And that was right when they announced that they were going to alternate starts with Jeremy. Yay! And they're making the video and it's getting all the hits. It's a joke. Patrick's not going to average 4 steals a game. It doesn't work like that. Nobody does. So I like Patrick. I don't want to see Patrick fail. But what's happening isn't unexpected. It's only unexpected to people from the Anybody But Jeremy group who actually believe the nonsense that they talked about how bad Jeremy was and how great Patrick was. This is why Bill Ingram's writing a piece, in my opinion, saying, the emergence of Patrick Beverley. No, you're writing about the emergence of Patrick Beverley because you screwed up with your rumors this summer about Jeremy getting traded and then talking Jeremy down. That's probably what happened. I know he made rumors about Jeremy getting traded, so I would assume he talked him down. The same way people like Mark Deeks talked about how great Patrick was and how Houston wanted to get rid of Jeremy. So I'm assuming that's what Bill Ingram did too. Although to be fair with him, I didn't read that. But I have heard other Lin fans say that Bill Ingram's a Jeremy Lin hater. So I'm going to assume that that's the thing. When Bill Ingram writes a piece talking about the emergence of Patrick Beverley, what you have to understand as an objective fan is that Patrick Beverley's PER is down this year and his defensive rating is up, which is negative. You want a low defensive rating. So this is propaganda nonsense. This is someone trying to make a narrative that's false. And that's why I get upset. And there are people on Twitter that get mad with me because I get upset about stuff. Look, I get upset about stuff when it's not fair. Right? If Jeremy blows a game, I'm going to say that. But when Jeremy's treated unfairly and he's pushed to the side for no reason, and you try to write an article talking about the emergence of Patrick Beverley when his numbers are down, and you're trying to say that Jeremy's better because he's off the bench, then I'm going to get mad. The same way that if Fran Blindberry writes an article trying to put Jeremy and his fans down, I'm going to get upset. So if you don't like that, don't follow me on Twitter. We're not here for nicey, I'm okay, you're okay commentary. I'm going to tell it like it is. We're here to tell the truth. And a lot of what we do and what I do is to debunk the garbage negativity that's put out about Jeremy. So I'm never going to be a person that's going to work for people that want no conflict. And the reason why that is because there's still a lot of people that don't want Jeremy to succeed and that don't believe in Jeremy. And that means that I'm going to be confrontational with those people when the time comes. I'm not going to be physically confrontational, but I'm going to take on their arguments and say that it's garbage when it's garbage. That's what we have to do here. That's, again, as I've said many times in these videos, we make the videos because the truth needs to be told. And if there's a whole bunch of people not telling the truth, then I'm going to call them out in the videos, and I'm going to call them out on Twitter. And that's the way it is. That's what has to happen, and that's what we're going to do. And like I said, if Jeremy doesn't do well, then I'm going to say that. And you guys will get mad at me then, the same way that you're happy when I call out the fake narratives. Then I get turned on, and I'm the bad guy, and I'm the hater, even though I'm not a hater. I'm just trying to be a truth teller. So, also, late in this game, is the final note from the quarter by quarter. Late in this game, James had a terrible turnover. He tried to pass the ball to Henri Caspi, I believe. Bad pass, defender read it, stole it, and then James Harden was yelling at Henri Caspi, basically like it was his fault or something. So James is an equal opportunity yeller-atter. So we know he's yelled at Jeremy, but he'll yell at anybody that makes him look bad. That's what it looks like anyway. So I like James Harden. He's incredibly talented. Not only is he physically talented, James Harden, he looks like, he's got the Moses beard. He looks like he's a little pudgy. No, James Harden is a terrific athlete. He has an excellent vertical jump. He has great body control. He's not given enough credit as an athlete. He's a great athlete. He's unbelievably skilled. His ability to draw fouls is incredible. And I know people whine about it and they think He is so good at that. Not only does it take physical toughness because you have to be able to take the hits, it takes skill to be able to do that, as I've talked to you about with Jeremy. And Harden's an incredible shooter. I mean, so he's a great basketball player. And he's still young. What is he, like 24? He's still young. So I don't want to get on him too much. The team and he will be better once he gets up another level or two in maturity. Once he commits to defense every single game, and once he stops being stats boy, in my opinion, and chasing stats, just like Chandler's fame boy, in my opinion. So once those things calm down, then this team will be where it needs to be. And that's why Dwight needs to be the leader, just like you said. Because Dwight's gotten beyond that. Finally. Yeah, Dwight likes to have fun and his little pregame routines. I thought the Mortal Kombat one was hilarious. If you guys saw that, it was Dwight Howard and Aaron Brooks. I saw it. I don't know where I saw it. I saw it on Real GM. It's just hilarious. It was like, basically, if you know the game Mortal Kombat, Dwight was pretending he was Scorpion. And he did a little couple kicks and a punch, and then he did the little, like, throw the spear, get over here. Aaron Brooks was like a guy, like when you have no energy left and you're kind of wobbling around, and then Dwight did like an uppercut finish, it was hilarious. It was great. If you haven't seen it, look for it. The video on YouTube is like Dwight Howard combat skid or something, not spelled K like Mortal Kombat is KOM. It's actually COM. I think the NBA put it up. It's hilarious stuff. So Dwight likes to goof around, have fun, but Dwight's mature now as a basketball player. I haven't heard Dwight complain one time this year about stats or getting the ball. And he complained a lot last year in LA, but he's past that now. The rest of the team is not past it, except for Jeremy and Patrick. Patrick doesn't care about stats, and I give him credit for that. LeBron, Bieber, Parsons, and James Harden, I think they care about stats. And that's not good. That's not going to help the team, in my opinion. And James has to play defense. Remember training camp and media day? James wanted to guard the other team's best player, and James was going to focus on his defense. What happened to that? Where is that? It's gone. Just like the New York Knicks against the Indiana Pacers in the playoffs. You're gone. Well, James Harden's commitment to defense is gone. And that's why you get losses like this. And that's what it is. It's the team's okay. We'll move on. But that's why you lose games like this. Okay, the next game is against the Phoenix Suns in the United States. The game will take place on Wednesday, December 4th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, which means the game will take place on Thursday, December 5th at 9 a.m. in Taipei, Taiwan. Jeremy will still be out for that game. Now, someone asked me a question in the comments of the last video. Paul, why are the Clippers ahead of Houston in the standings? The reason why they are is because the first four seeds are division winners. So the Clippers have a worse record than Houston, or they did, but they're number one in the Pacific Division. However, I think if the Clippers win their division and Houston has a better record than them, if those two teams meet, then I think Houston will get home court. It's just the way that the standings are presented. They put the division leaders first, I believe. That's the reason why you saw it like that. I actually was wondering that myself. I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, it's because of the division. Let me just say also, and I've said this before, my time is much less right now. So if I haven't answered you on Twitter or I'm not commenting as much, again, I apologize. I just don't have as much time right now. So I've had to really cut back on the videos and cut back on commenting and tweeting and all this stuff. So again, nothing personal towards anybody, and I'll get to people if and when I can, but it's just, I'm just going to have to do less of that for the time being. Okay, it is 1:08 a.m. here on Tuesday, December 3rd, very early. 2013, which means it is 2:08 p.m. in Taipei, Taiwan. Also, let me say, Ronnie from Taiwan. Yeah, I did get the information about how the titling of the videos and how you and other people were having trouble finding the videos. And that makes sense because every video starts the same, right? Starts out Jeremy Lin and the Houston Rockets. So if you don't get to see the whole title, you're not going to know which video is which because they all have the same picture and they all start the same. So I understand that. That's why I did want to make the adjustment and put the date first and the game first. Now, once we do 5 years of these videos, then it'll be like, well, okay, it's game number 19 from what year? So it's even more important to put the date in. And so I did see what you said, and I appreciate that you told me that because I want people to be able to find the videos. And I know that would be kind of confusing, and I understand that. Thumbs up, thumbs down, your comments below. We will have information in the video description below the video player for highlights, box score, and a story about the game. Also in the video description, you can come and join us on the Conservative New Media Facebook group, which has over 2,500 members and counting, and come and follow us on the CNM JLin Vids Twitter account. Once again, I am Paula Villarreal, PFV, the NBA expert, and I'm fired up tonight, in case you didn't know that. I'm not happy about this game, and I'm not thrilled with Harden or the Jeremy Lin doubters and haters and the anybody but Jeremy group. Thanks for watching Conservative New Media. We do strive to be the #1 Jeremy Lin YouTube fan channel. It's a tough loss. On in the next game. You can learn from this. I know Jeremy has the quote where you learn more from losing than winning. That is absolutely true. Because when you lose, you have to think about things more. And so hopefully the team will look at this and make the corrections. And again, the team misses Jeremy. And they needed him for this game. And as I've said, yes, there's a scenario where he could get traded. I don't think he's going to get traded. Aaron Brooks came on strong at the end of this game, but before that, he wasn't playing well. So this was looking like 2 straight games where Aaron Brooks wasn't doing so hot. And Patrick and Aaron weren't hitting threes tonight either. So there's definitely still a need for Jeremy. And as I've said before, this is why you have 3 point guards on the team. Because when a guy's not working well, you put him in. I want to mention something on that real quickly, too. Somebody on jeremylin.net. This is a really good comment. I can't remember who said it, actually. No, I do remember. I think it's Kirosen, I believe was the commenter's name. This was like a week ago. And I do read the site often, even though I don't comment that much over there. And he said something like, McHale's approach with Jeremy doesn't work well. In other words, this put anybody in who's hot. That's true. There is a point to that. In other words, you're not looking at players like an investment. You're looking at them like a stock. Like, okay, here's a hot stock, buy that. And then, it's not hot anymore, dump it and buy that. That can mess with players' developments. And it can mess with team chemistry. What Kirosen, I'm sorry, I hope I'm getting your name right. What Kirosen said was that when you play like that, when you coach like that, then what you get is that everybody plays like they want to get stats. Because if they get stats, then you'll keep them in. And so everybody tries to be a hero when they're in. And you know what? That's a great point. You do see that. And what Kirosen was saying is this is why you see Omri Caspi and LeBron Bieber Parsons trying to become playmakers. Because they think if they get a couple of assists or whatever, then they'll get to play more. Or they won't get pulled out. It's a good point. Look, I see it both ways. There's something to be learned from playing in that type of a system. You will get more competitive, and that toughens you up. And that's not a bad thing, as I've said many times. On the other hand, you don't get to develop as much. So if you're a young player and you need time and a long leash to develop, you're not going to get it. So I think that was a really good point. And look, I still hope that Jeremy doesn't get traded from the team this year. I won't cry if he does. I'm not worried about him if he does. I hope he doesn't because the team's good and I want him to have continuity. But remember, his deal only goes through the end of next year. So, and he'll be 26 then. We're going on 27 for the next season. He's still got plenty of time. So, he plays out his deal and he stays with Houston. You want to go somewhere else, then you go somewhere else. So, he's getting paid well. Keep improving. Try to stay healthy, which he's done a good job of. This knee injury was a fluke, and that's it. So, if there could be a better situation for him after next year, then we'll go from there from next year, and unless the team trades him first. So, and still, if they trade him, then his contract still goes up at the end of next year, so he can do what he wants to do. So, okay, that's it. I hope everybody's having a great night, a great day, wherever you are around the world when you watch this video. Take care. I'll talk to you soon.